Rob is with us with Complete Communications, but Coulter Solutions and J. Wayne Miller was not able to join us. But Coulter wanted me to let you all know that if any of you or anybody that you know that's a member has had any trouble with getting laid off or furloughed or anything like that, that they're ready and willing to help you with finding another job. So I'm going to go ahead and put that email address in the chat box so that if you have any questions for them, feel free to reach out to them at any time. And then we do have some events coming up, which are really exciting. So I wanted to share that with you. Tomorrow morning, we have our Good Morning Seminoles Zoom edition, and that is going to be all about politics. So we have Peter Squarch, who is the publisher of Florida Politics, and he's just going to help you get ready to start voting in this election coming up here. And then next Thursday, we have a virtual business after hours that's going to be virtually hosted by Orlando Health. They're going to give us a virtual tour of their new renovations at the Longwood location, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then on the 18th, we have our virtual annual meeting, and that's going to be where we're going to vote on our board slate for the upcoming year. We're going to recognize all of our outgoing chairs for board and committee, and we're going to vote. We're going to actually announce the Ambassador of the Year award, and we have a live raffle that's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of great prizes to give away. Make sure you get your raffle tickets, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about that at all. And then at the end of the month, we have our virtual professional women's luncheon, and we are very hopeful that this will be our only virtual professional women's luncheon, and we will return back to in-person in July, so that's going to be good. But we're going to have Lauren Miller from J. Wayne Miller, Diane Cruz from Orlando Sanford International Airport, and Trista Johnson from Seminole County, and they're going to share their experience in juggling the work-life balance during the pandemic and how they handled everything, how they had, you know, their kids in homeschool, and how they were still able to be rock stars. So it's going to be a very inspiring program. I'm going to put the links as we go along to those events in the chat box, so feel free to click on those and register if you can, because we would love to have you. I'm just going to go over a few things before we start. So again, just stay on mute until you are asking questions. If you click to speaker view, it's going to be a lot better for you. So you'll see somebody more clearly. Whoever's speaking, you'll see them more clearly. Feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat box, and then we will get to them as we're able to. It might not be right away, but we'll definitely be able to get to them afterwards. And then at the end, if you see those three little dots in the chat box, you can actually click on those and save. You can save the whole discussion, so you have everybody's contact information, phone numbers, emails, and whatnot. So with that, let's see here. Rob, did you have anything you would like to share with us?
Well, first off, welcome everybody, and hopefully everyone by now is well accustomed to all these virtual online meetings. Just real quick, our company specializes in helping companies find the right technology services. So especially in these challenging times, need any help at all connecting to a mobile workforce, you know, additional bandwidth, because now you're connecting back to a home office that you weren't doing before. You know, anything you need from a connectivity standpoint, you know, we're here to help you guys. We really strive to find our customers and our clients the best deals, so we shop the market for you. So anything we can do, help out, especially during these times. If you're looking to cut money out of your budget and want to save money on your telecom expenses, hit me up. We'll see what we can do for you. So just glad everybody's here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Kate, did you have anything you'd like to say before we got started? Just get yourself off mute because you're going to start speaking.
Now.
Okay, now.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate.
Hi.
Nice to see you all. I'm I'm getting used to this still. It's been a couple of months, but you would think I've been used to Zooming by now. But no, I'm Kate Crockett with ECPI University and also RB Advisories. And just looking forward to getting to see you guys all again really soon. And I hope you enjoy the event tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to allow RB Advisory to begin presenting. And again, feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat box as they go along, and then we'll get to them as soon as we can. So go ahead and take it over.
Thank you so much. We appreciate being here tonight. I'm Teresa Moon. I'm Director of Business Development for RB Advisory. I'm here tonight to help with the panel discussion between Regine Bonneau. No, you'd think I would know by now. We're only with each other all the time. And Abdullah Karoub. We're here tonight to discuss, what are you more afraid of? COVID-19 threatening your life or malware attacking your legacy? We're approaching the new normal for 2020, and we're looking tonight to discuss from a technical level, but from layman's terms, about how we can help combat issues that we have in the new normal that we're approaching right now after the pandemic crisis. So we want to welcome our esteemed guests tonight. Like I said, this is Regine. She is the CEO of RB Advisory. Abdullah is with PayConcept. We are a joint team. We're approaching tonight's conversation from a partnership. And so we've asked these two entrepreneurs to talk to you, also entrepreneurs, about how you can protect your assets, your people, your data, your clients, and address some issues that we have that are pertinent in today's society. So I'm going to introduce their companies a little bit. We're going to talk about some case scenarios from a real life perspective with clients that they've dealt with and issues that you two might be dealing with as well. And I'm going to make sure that nothing gets too technical so that we can make sure that everyone can engage. We ask you to participate with questions in the end as well, so that we can ask from them to real life examples of things that they might be able to share tips with you at the end as well. And so please be engaged and let us know if we can do anything to help along the way. We've got some helpful attendees here that are going to be filtering those questions through us. So feel free to entertain any issues that you may have and want to ask questions of our experts. So without further ado, RB Advisory, they provide private sector clients with proven solutions and custom services to safeguard their most valuable assets, which are data, clients, and their people, professionals that work for them. RBA is recognized both locally and nationally as a highly qualified and trusted security, compliance, and cybersecurity firm. The team of professionals led by Regine have more than 70 years of combined experience in technology and cybersecurity. To my right here is Abdullah, and his company is PayConcept. They specialize in merchant payment processing, cash advance, POS systems, and designing payment solutions for sectors including but not limited to retail, hospitality, e-commerce, lodging, and non-for-profits. In 2020, Abdullah founded Concepts, Inc., a startup technology company specializing in mobile application for not-for-profit verticals to help good people do good. So we've got some great entrepreneurs that are going to give you some expertise, and I'm going to guide them along the way. So let's start by talking about how you two partner together and why that's important for our audience tonight. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to discuss from your own perspective about why partnering with each other is important and what that means to the audience. So Regine, I'd like you to start, and Abdullah, if you follow, please.
Thank you everyone for attending. During this unprecedented time that we all speak about, and we're more than happy to provide you with this information coming to you to help you as we move along. So how best that both companies, we look at a merchant servicing company and a security and compliance company work well. What happens, all these clients and the work that they do, their clients have to meet security compliance, which we call PCI, DSS, or any other type of data security and privacy requirements. And what does that mean to companies, right? We'll come in and we help assess preliminary what the environment is, what is the required compliance that they have to meet, and what security we need to put in place prior to Abdullah and his team coming on board to ensure that the client that in the information that they provide and their machines as well, right? Because some of them do have that in e-commerce, is going to perform at a high level to help with threat management and any other issues the client may have. And into that, we also look into what processes monitoring and logging and helping the client on as a team. So they have a security and compliance team, so you have that covered, and also you have your merchant services, so your money stays secured, and your data and privacy as well.
Well, Teresa,
Yes.
Regine, thank you for having me, SeminoleTech. Wonderful to be on this platform. You know, it's Regine mentioned PCI compliance. Merchant processing companies, everybody who deals in retail or deals with merchant services, even it doesn't, regardless of industry, everybody knows that PCI compliance is very important. Payment processor companies like ours expect the owners to fill out surveys on PCI compliance. Keep in mind there are many people who, there are many merchants who do not look forward to filling out those compliance forms because it takes about 15 to 20 minutes of their time, many redundant questions. But please know that if you are working backwards, if I had a client who I needed to get PCI compliance, if they had failed that survey, because after filling out a survey, we scan, payment processing company, our payment processing company scans all the internet connections to that business. And if we find a breach or a port that is open, then we request the business to go ahead and block that or close those ports. And that's where you need somebody like Regine's company to come in and help you secure those. Because as long as those ports are open, you have a great chance of getting breached, not only for credit card payment information, but also for your private information that travels on the internet lines. So it is very important. We work well together. We are a great referral team.
Yes.
Usually, Regine, it happens where we go backwards, where my clients start needing service and Regine comes in and helps. So it's a great relationship.
And I think it's great to point that out, that that's the partnership that we're dealing with today. So for small businesses at home that are watching us virtually tonight, it doesn't matter what type of business you're running, considering the nature of how we do commerce these days. Most of what we are doing and purchasing is done online. So we need help from both sides of it here, and that's what we're going to address a little bit. So I'll help from the layperson side, being able to make it more applicable to all of you so that it doesn't get too technical, because we're going to get into some case scenarios now to make sure that everyone can follow. And not that we can't.
We have no idea
No
what you're talking
technical stuff,
about.
promise.
I'm just going to make sure that we all have fun and then don't, go to sleep too early. We're all having a happy hour. We need it to be fun. So the best way to display how these two work together is to give good examples about businesses that they've dealt with that have had issues and how that might apply to you. So the first issue that I'd like you two to talk to in particular is precautionary measures that businesses tend to put into place to mitigate risk that don't always end up protecting them. So nowadays, people have had to go remote. And even if you haven't had to go remote, you still may have workers who do work from home or contractors that work from you that aren't in your office. And so a lot of people have gone the route of a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Can you speak to us about a specific instance where the two of you have had to combine efforts in dealing with a specific issue where a VPN was utilized, but yet there was still an issue at hand? So I'm going to let Abdullah start with this one, and then Regine, you can follow.
Thank you. VPN, this is something, being a payment processing company, you would think that we would not have to hear about VPNs because we do not encourage, or none of our connections or products run on VPN. We are directly connected to internet. But we do work quite a bit with lodging industry and franchise industries. And many times those industries have tech supports who will join the merchants' computers through VPN to solve any issue, right? Blackouts or systems are down, POS systems are down, they'll come into the VPN and they'll fix them. So just about a couple of months ago, we had a scenario where on a weekend, on a Sunday, one of our branded hotel clients was breached, and they were breached by somebody pretended to be from a certain franchise hotel company, and they called up the front desk and said, hey, can you let us in? We are at your computer. We are calling from such and such, from your franchisor, and we have been, there's a ticket here that says that we need to go in and help you solve this problem. Unfortunately, the GM wasn't there, neither the owners. So the lady at the front desk, she saw the screen and she said it's very much similar to what they're used to. She let those people into the system through VPN, and it only took about 20 minutes by the time she reached out to the manager. For whatever reason, she did it after she let them in, and they had to shut it down. But then what happened 3 days later is we started to get phone calls of for them to do the change of bank account information, change passwords for other portals or the gateways. And and I was told, and we were told that beside just payment processing information that these guys got away with, they also got away with a lot of sensitive information on hotel guests, on the owners of the hotels, on the partners, social security numbers to all. So this could be very costly. It has been very costly for them. Unfortunately, it was right at the start of Corona. They had to deal with the epidemic there and the economic downfall. Now they're also dealing with trying to fix their losses or future losses that they're going to incur because of the breach through VPN. So what I have to tell you is, I would advise you that VPN connections could be helpful, but they need to be very restricted to people that are supposed to be there. And I'm not in place to talk about VPN, so I'll let Regina handle that.
There's a good one for you.
Well, thank you. Well, why do people use VPNs, right? It's because it provides, we hear a lot of people use a VPN because it's a blanket blocking for your IP address. It helps, you can serve anonymously. It has a layer of protection, but you cannot use any type of VPN, right? So you have to know that the company is reputable, and also that they also take security at a high level. And if that's not the case, then that's where you find into that situation where they were able to just, log in and someone give their credentials and then move on and see and be able to get into the system. But however, in a case like this, where we come in is, number one is to understand why did it take place at that, right? So you start from the level of education for your employees, right? And that comes at the end. So it's a re-education awareness training for everyone. But when we look at it, we look into what allowed them to actually easily get into your network, aside from you giving them the information. But now, when we go in and test and do digital forensics analysis in the back end, we're able to trace and see what we can do to help the client later on and fix the problem. But aside from that, when we do the digital forensic, we find out, this was an easier case because the information was given, right? But now we're moving backwards to see, okay, well, what other measures that you need to put in place to actually start protecting yourself. In a case like this, you want to have multi-factor authentication, right? So, and not just one person giving the information. There's a validation process that needs to take place in order prior to someone even having access to something so important as a point of sale system. And we know they're weak, but some of them are that you're not seeing the security measures into it. But if that's the case, and you can have another validation, a check and balance for someone to validate that information, then they're able to, even if they have a credentials, whether you username and password, there's a next step that needs to take place that they don't have access to, right? And that's a code or an extra password that they need to be able to access into it. But with this particular case, after we're able to come in, do a digital forensic, find out exactly what took place, helping Abdullah and his company be able to trace it back, and the bank as well, we had to come back and do an education with the employees and move on some of the policies to help people understand. Just because you get a phone call, validate, right? Do not give the information at once just because you don't see any changes on your screen. You're not going to see changes on your screen. We're good at what we do, right? So, but before you do that, think, process, and then call, right? Oh, no problem. I see what's happening. We didn't get that call. Let me give you a call back. What's your phone number? I can call you back with that information. I have my manager call. Then you validate with your manager what took place. Is that something valid? And then you provide that information. But if you're just giving the information because, oh yes, we need that help, then you're opening yourself up. You have rights to ask questions. And in that case, because the credential was given, we're able to just come in, do the validation that it was taking place. Nothing really on their side, but the VPN had to be more secure and enlightened, hardened in the network for that.
Great. Well, we appreciate both of your points of view for that. And I think from the perspective of it's not just lodging customers that are having this issue. This was a front desk attendant that answered the phone and gave away information unknowingly to someone that didn't have good intentions with it. So everyone is at risk for something like this at this point. And I think what both sides are saying on this is that training and awareness and education is first and foremost what each and every business should be doing right now to ensure that their workforce is educated enough to understand what threats look like and sound like and how they can occur. And then on the other side of it, being able to, like Regine said, trust but verify. So it's best to consult the experts on these instances. So it's not just a hotel or a small business that's going to be dealing with this. It's everyone that's dealing with, so anyone that can call into your company right now can request information that is malicious. And so any businesses that are watching right now should be looking to experts like these for questions about issues like this that you might be worried about. Let's move on. This side of it is something that's pretty scary, but it's probably something that you've heard of, especially recently when it comes to different cyber threats that are affecting both sides of the issues. Someone calling in and impersonating an owner. So we've got what we deal with. It's a breach at a level that a lot of people don't have the courage to call in and impersonate the owner of our company. But I don't know if any of you have gotten an email before from the president of a company. We've gotten them before. We laugh about them. Working at a cybersecurity company, you get an email from a client saying the president's requesting personal information, and so you trust but verify. So if you wouldn't mind, Regine will let you speak first to it on this side. Specific story that you both have dealt with, scenario where someone called in requesting financial information of the company and how that transpired.
Oh, no, awesome. So, we have fun doing this, right? What's fun to us is not fun to anyone, but fun in the way that we're looking for solutions and providing the assistance that people need. So in this particular case, and you're looking at more, a jewelry shop, a jewelry store, not just your typical jewelry store, but it happens to anyone. And in that instant, you're looking at was a phishing email. The credentials was, again, credentials, right? Username and passwords. That seems to be the recurrent factor here. That was actually obtained through a phishing email. Someone just clicked on a link, and then the person was able to get into the computer of the CEO, was able to get his information. Not only just that information, they were able to get their password, their bank account information, what the access code was, and in that case, and social security numbers, right, which is the case, the big numbers that you need when you're calling your bank. And what happened is that person was able to request the bank to charge back a lot of transactions that took place, which closely amounted to $180,000. Now, in this case, and because it's on a Sunday, right? Who is going to really be monitoring anything on a Sunday, especially a bank? So that process started taking place. And when it came in, because of the relationship and also the trust that they had with PayConcept was able to intercept within their POS system, because we help them manage that as well, is identify that there was an issue, and only at the end of the day, only $20,000 was practically leaked out into a different bank account for in the original owners. And with that, in that instant, we're able to come in and also help identify what the cause was and how did that actually took place, because no one could understand how did someone get the information, and we were able to find out through, again, forensics, and that they were able to get into the system because someone clicked and was able to get in and have information. A case in that, why should you should not keep your password. You should not have the same password for everything. That's one, and that's one of the case. And you should not keep those information on your server or on a file on your computer that anyone can have access to if they get in. And with that, in that conjunction, find out what was the root cause and how did that happen. We're able to assist in helping the company identify and also get what they needed back. So Abdullah and his quick response in his company, he'll explain how that took place, where this person is now whole, right? And in other cases that never happened. So,
You know, as Regine mentioned, there are point in time where when we partnership, there are point in times when Regine's team comes in and takes care of the problem, is when the customer reports the problem to us. But just what was happening before this transaction happened was a couple of days before this happened on a weekend where they went ahead and did chargebacks. But on 2 days earlier than that, we received a phone call in our office. We have multiple customer service reps, and that's just to prove that having a boutique solution company does help. That it does help out quite a bit, because this specific person called in and wanted us to change the banking account information on this merchant account. This merchant account is very valuable to us. It is so valuable to us, just like all our other merchant accounts, that we have the we have the kids' names, we have birthdays of the kids, the wife, the spouse. And when this gentleman called in and said, hey, my name is such and such and such, and I would like to get the banking account information changed, how can you change it for me? So of course, even before I was involved, one of our team leads who picked up the call said, oh, okay, so Mr. Thomas, or I'm just making a name, Mr. Thomas, if that it is you, we'll be happy to do the account change for you. But tell me, how's Samantha doing, right? And the other end, the guy goes, Samantha is doing great. Well, happy to know that this specific owner, his daughter's name is not Samantha. He doesn't even have a daughter, right? We have a really good time with calls that come in through like this. If we think they are phishing us, we like to ask them questions, validate to see if they are the true clients who they are. We truly take pride in our systems that alert us of fraudulent activities that are going on into our customer's account. We were able to stop them that day, Thursday and Friday. We were able to mitigate, let the customer know that their social security number, we did confirm the social security number with those guys who called us. And we did let the owner of the store know that his social security number is out. He should go and put hold on all his credit. And there are people fishing to move his banking account information. Well, with all that said, these guys probably were smarter, and they did not need us to do the bank account change, because they went ahead and started doing chargebacks, or they started doing refunds, big dollar amount refunds, which our payment processing platform was able to flag and stop when it got to be at a point where it was higher than normal. So this is some of the tools that you get when you go with a reputable, especially boutique payment processors, where you are not just a number. We have a big portfolio of our clients, but we've been blessed with great systems and great staff who's been with us for many, many years, and we truly believe that we are partners of our clients, and we take personal attention in their business, because it's a partnership. If they succeed, we will succeed. So there's a long story behind it, but Regine came in on Monday, and they went in and they scanned all their systems, and they were able to set them up where this thing will not happen again. But unfortunately, this happens more than usual. This is just a case with us, but many other merchant service experience days, or many merchants experience this kind of an issue on a daily basis.
Yeah, and just just a quick little piggyback. When you look into these things, right, what companies tell to do is the most simple stuff, right? Is if in that case of a jewelry store, you should also, if you're dealing with money, with finances, there should be a threshold, a number where it starts setting an alert. If we'll make sure that what we do for our client is above and beyond, right? So we're setting that alert in our own system. But if you own a company and you're not setting up that alert on yourself, you're leaving yourself vulnerable and very accessible. And it doesn't matter if it's from $1 or 100, right? The same measures you take with your personal bank account, personal information, you should do the same thing with the business. As the owner, you set the stage of what happens next. And if they had even an alert set before, to start putting that within the case, or stop the processing if it goes above 100, right? And then it's not an issue. Even though you process a lot of transactions throughout the day, you should still look into that. And those are processes now. Process is the key, right? And then education and policies and put things in place, and then solution is what we are able to put in place now to stop those things from happening. And it's very simple stuff, not things out of the ordinary that you can do.
Well, I think that's a good testimony to small businesses too, being able to safeguard their information by the fact of understanding that knowing who your vendors are is really important.
Yes.
So to what Abdullah was saying, that they might be a small business, but they pay very close attention to their wide array of clients, as we do as well at RB Advisory, where we can know those extra details to take that extra step. So those extra step authentication that's necessary to safeguard isn't as much of an issue when we're not dealing with a large company where you get lost in the shuffle. So small businesses, it's not just a jewelry store that is using merchant services. We have delis, dog groomers. Across the street, there's a wine store. I mean, the restaurant downstairs. Everyone's at risk for an issue like this. And so it's just a matter of knowing who your vendors are and making sure that everything is safeguarded in a way that can be monitored on an ongoing basis. So I think that's a good catapult into our final scenario, which probably is the most daunting, as both you being business owners, so me sitting in the middle as an employee, is employees who are trusted individuals who have access to financial capabilities, credit card processing, for instance. And so I want you two to speak to a specific event that you both dealt with together. And we call it on the cybersecurity side an insider threat, but I think it's the same on the payment processing as well. It's an internal threat. An employee who was trusted and given carte blanche to have access to certain payments and was able to skim off and do some malicious actions in the process before they were caught. So we'd like, Abdullah, if you could start on this side of it and discuss how your company was able to come in, and then Regine can come in on the other side of how RB Advisory was able to support on the back end.
So what do you call, we call inside?
We call it human factor. We love what we do, right? And when questions like this come up, you get multiple stories that come in your mind. So for all the retailers out there, I'll make it quick for a story that Regine and I didn't discuss, but we just noticed it during COVID time. There are a lot of individuals, retailers who are using basic terminals for credit card payment processing. And what is happening every so often, we hear that a client will come in, they'll provide a card to do a transaction, and the transaction will decline. And then the customer goes ahead and tells you, oh, by the way, there's a special PIN number on my card. It will not get approved until we put this PIN number in. So could you please switch over the terminal towards me, and I can do the transaction for you. Guess what? All the terminals seem to have a button on it that says force authorization. Not many merchants ever take time to educate themselves for all the functions that are available. We can talk more about force authorization some other day, but just let me tell you that if the client decides, if a client presses the force authorization button and puts in a number and you get an authorization, that's not a valid authorization that will match Visa, MasterCard network. So at the end of the night, when you're doing the processing, the money that supposedly was approved at that moment is not the money you'll be receiving, because it was a made up authorization number that your machine that the customer created and your machine went ahead and approved it. There's a whole science behind it. There's a reason that is there for. It was more valid back in the previous days. There is not much that we use force authorization for currently. And the most the most usual one that we come around with are cases where the most trusted person who's working in the front desk decides to scam money or skim money. It has happened to a doctor's clinic up north where the doctor had lost $13,000 in 1 month, and it was a pretty high volume location, and we were able to track this down because the refunds were done in a very smart way, or they were done in very small increments. So it didn't flag it up, but it did flag us at the end when it hit the breach or hit the level of returns that it would flag to our system. Doctors' offices do not have refunds. Basically, this front desk staff was taking a co-payment of $15, $20 from patients that would come in, and then when the patients left that afternoon during lunchtime, they would use a prepaid card and go ahead and refund that copay and put it in as a insurance pay. So the owners of the clinic or the admin just always thought that, okay, this guy, we're getting money from the insurance, so this $20 is not there. But at the end, that person took home $13,000. And it was very sensitive information because when we brought it over to the attention of our client, the first thing we heard that the merchant services is taking the money. There's no way. My staff has been here for 10 years. They will never do that. But when more depth, we were able to provide them with reports with the timing, the day, the minute of the day when the transactions, refunds were done and the transactions were done. And they were able to figure out, or they were able to see which employee was at the front desk at that time in that shift. And it seems to be pretty consistent, 100% of the time. It was a schedule of that specific person. They were able to track it and address this issue with that admin in the front desk. And that admin did admit, after all, that she has taken the money and she won't be able to return it all, but this is what she can do, and she needed the money. So we call it a human factor. I don't know, Teresa, Regine, what she can do, but we do come across this. You have to be vigilant, and that's the reason you have to fill out the PCI compliance survey, because that's the survey that teaches you and tells you how to manage your credit card information that comes to you and your front desk.
PCI, what does it stand for?
Payment, that's a good one.
Industry.
Yes.
I'll look it up and we'll send it to you afterwards. I just asked, I don't know.
Yes.
But in a case like this, what do you do, right? And we're dealing with that. And this is a big issue when you're talking about insider threat. We call it insider threat. It doesn't really stop only at your employees. It's stop at your staff, even your the janitorial people that come, the people that clean your office, down to your vendors as well. Because they're the people that have access to you, right? You've given them, you trusted them. How do you validate anything else, right? Because you said trust and verify, but at that point, if the most trusted person is the one that actually doing the threat or doing the stealing person in that sense, how do you do that? Because they have all the information they need, right? They have the PIN number, they have the phone number, the zip codes, and all that stuff on how to properly do it. But without measures, security measures like this, or that you can draft an alert. Now, PayConcept, Abdullah's company, could have been in trouble. And at that case, when we come in, we're not coming in to help the client. We're coming in to validate PayConcept to remove them from that issue and clean their reputation, because the client officially say, hey, you did it because it was done so well. And it falls back on a company that they've trusted to help them. So in that instant, when we found it out, we came in to the rescue, right? Or you said we came in to make sure that, to show that it had nothing to do with the company. It had to do with the person that you trust. And how do you fix that? And in that sense, what do we do? There's a lot of companies themselves needs to understand that, yes, you're small, right? Yes, everyone is, one person can be doing 3 jobs. There always needs to be a check and balance, right? Especially on finances, because we know finance changes everyone's life, right? You don't know who's in need and who's not. And as a company, you're small enough. The large corporations are doing it because they have a team specialized in trying to figure out, hey, how are you today? What's going on? How's everything going? You can take the time to learn your employees, get a little bit familiar with them and understanding their psyche, because you can never, someone who's happy today is not happy tomorrow. You can't change that. But if you're always checking in and seeing what's going on, it throws them off a little bit. But in this instance, inside a thread, so you can always have what we do is we put on the check and balances, and that's that she shouldn't have been able, she or he, right? Shouldn't have been able to just do those process back and into a card without allowing it to do the person to do it without any issues. Why? Because they had you can't pick that, so they were able to bypass all of that. A lot of stuff we do is education. A lot of it is education. A lot of it is understanding, assessing the employees. We call it access control, which means that there's certain points that if you have to block that person to have a full right. Not everyone should have all the keys to the kingdom, right? Just because we're running around busy, you should always make sure that there's a point that they should not be able to access, and in that way, you're protecting your company. again, what we're saying is what you've seen is small little things that, oh, I may not have been paying attention because it doesn't look like a big issue, right? It is a big issue when you're not paying attention. With that 5 seconds that you could have stopped and just say hi, or just not click a button or put other processes in place, could have saved your will of hurt. But however, if you don't know your vendors as well, and you don't have vendors that are actually looking out and putting their reputation first, and that's what counts, then you don't get the services that you're looking for.
I think that's a great way to kind of wrap things up. I think number one, knowing who your vendors are and working with companies who have the time to dedicate to a small business from a small business perspective. Not only are they as well small business owners, but they have expertise that they can bring to the certain level of protection and from the cybersecurity side as well. So it doesn't matter what type of business you have, these are services that you are already in need of. And so I encourage you to reach out to both companies. They work together and they can come to you and give a consultation about how they can comprehensively help with any issues and mitigate any risks that you might have this time. I would like them both to close out. We all are dealing right now with different issues given that the nature of how we do business has changed. So I've asked both of them to not only close out and talk about what they're doing proceeding forward and doing business, but any promos or business adventures that you can be a part of or take advantage of right now. I'd like them to address those as well. So Abdullah, if you wouldn't mind closing out, giving us some information about PayConcept and how our audience can approach you. We've got our information behind us as well, but I know there's some new and exciting endeavors that you guys are doing at PayConcept, and we want you to have the opportunity to tell our viewing audience as well.
Well, thank you. First of all, this was great. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did as well. There are many stories like these. These little stories could turn into big stories and sometimes devastate a hard-working legacy that you are building to create. Many small businesses have given their sweat and blood 24 hours. I'm from an immigrant family. I know how it is. Seeing my father work so hard and give us the education we needed, and it's 24-hour work. And when you have somebody who can just steal all that from you on a click of a button, it's really not deserving of that. And there are many small businesses who will not be proactively ready, who will not proactively be prepared for these cyber attacks unless and until it's too late. I know they could be pricey sometime, but I have seen many companies or small businesses go down, burn down, per se, devastated, losing their information and credibility. Because once you have a customer's information breach, there is no way to build your reputation. So the point is that please consider having vendors that will look out for you. As far as the technology is concerned, in our payment processing business, everybody has a deal. In COVID, we were blessed to recreate ourselves. I know it is difficult times for businesses. We have just offered a new surcharge payment solution where a merchant does not have to pay any fees on the credit card payment processing. Just like you would do it with government or municipality, the fees is forwarded over to the client who is purchasing with you. And we have seen lately in the last 4 weeks that it has been quite a bit welcomed with our clients who decided to go that route because money is tough. There's been a big interruption in business, and there's no reason for you to eat the cost if you are able to forward that cost to your clients. People will use credit cards. That's the way going forward. Cash is tight, so there is no reason or no harm on collecting the credit card payment fees from the customer themselves in return for what they get in their points and stuff, right? That's something new that we have introduced. Please connect with us, and we'd love to tell you about it.
Excellent. Awesome. So thank you again for everyone who's attending. I'm a small business. We started business for the fact of protecting other small businesses, bringing to them what initiative, what solution that matches their business. So you don't have to think cyber. Yes, it is an expense, but it is not an expense. It's an investment in your company as you've invested as otherwise. So with us here at RB Advisory, what we provide is a review of your current security status. And from then on, we can help you properly put the security measures in place that you need. help you meet compliance, because there's a little caveat in between what we call security compliance. Everyone knows they have to be compliant. Everyone knows the needs of technology to help them as well. But how do you make those two fit? And this is where we fit. So we'll ask if this a need that you need, we'll be more than happy to come in and do a business, what we call business impact analysis, an assessment, whereas then we can help you in CI and identify some of the issues that you may have, and then from then on, then we can discuss what is to have a bigger and larger, a more in-depth engagement, right? So we see what is at the surface, and then we can move on along from that. So we'll be more than happy to come and help you, because at the end of the day, your legacy counts. I know mine does, and we don't sleep. But in that sense, we want to take the burden off and not have you worry about if someone is, today is your day, right? So before we used to call if, it's not if, it's when. For us here, it's not, those two don't matter because it's going to happen. It's how you react. How do you come back? Can you come back? And COVID-19 has been teaching us a lot. Security is not taking a back step. It's actually in the forefront, because the criminals know what to do best, right? They don't take a day off, but that's what we do here, and we'll be more than happy to discuss any needs that you have, and we will help you with that. So enjoy the rest. Have a great summer, right? Yeah. Thank you again for the opportunity, and feel free to contact us. We'll provide all our contact information,
all of our contact information
to SeminoleTech, and so that you can do that. Do not push this aside. This is very important, and we're seeing what's happening.
For the record, we don't take our day off.
No, I didn't say we take a day off. I said criminals don't take a day off.
We don't
take a day off.
That's right.
They need an extra day in the week.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
So I encourage everyone to reach out if you have any issues, and if you need a consultation, both are available. Contact information up here. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening.
Stay healthy.
Thank you so much for all that information. You can also drop your contact information in the chat box. Did anybody have any questions before we go to Jan, who's going to share with us about some important things as well? So if you have any questions, please just raise your hand or drop those in the chat box. So we have a few minutes for questions. Anybody? Okay, well, if you do wind up having some questions, just please feel free to drop those in the chat box, and then I'll try to get to those at the end of the program. But now I would like to, this whole program was just based around cyber awareness, so we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. And Jan Edwards is with us to share about something extremely important, especially right now during the summer. While all the kids have more time on their hands to be on their social media, their phones, their tablets, she's going to go over child trafficking, grooming, and recruitment tactics on social media. And I think that's a really, really important topic, and I think everyone with kids definitely can relate to that. So I want to go ahead and pass it on over to her. Again, please stay on mute. Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat box, and then I'm going to share some of her links as well so that you can have some resources to go to as well. So with that, thank you, and here is Jan Edwards.
Great, thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. It's so great to see people's faces. And I don't know where Abdullah and Regine went, but I've known Regine for several years, so it's hoping to see your face back again. So my name's Jan Edwards, and I'm the president and CEO of Paving the Way Foundation, and we're really out to empower communities to be a fierce disruption in the cycle of child trafficking. And we do that through education. We've educated almost 14,000 youth and adults in the past 3 years, both here in Central Florida and around the globe, quite frankly. And, it's really interesting because I took some notes about what Regime and Abdullah says, and it's such a match for what we do. So I have a question for everybody. Put you all on gallery view so I can see you. How many of you feel like, whether you are a parent or not, right, or a grandparent or not, how many of you actually feel like your business is your baby? Like you grew it, you started it, you've helped nurture it, grow it. And for those of you I can't see, I'm assuming you're nodding your head. Yeah. Well, just as they were talking about, protecting your business, protecting your data, I wrote a couple of notes down here, you know, VPN protection, authorization, insider threat. Well, you can map that right over to our children. So I'm going to give you some facts, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we can fight this battle. And then I'm going to share a little bit about, at the end, some tools. So Florida has the 3rd highest number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline nationwide. Okay, only behind California and Texas. And what that tells me is not only are there people making phone calls, right? It's front side of hand, back side of hand. The good news is people are picking up the phone and making phone calls. That's the good side. Like the back side is people are actually having to pick up the phone and make phone calls. We've trained them. People know kind of what phone calls to make the call, and they're calling them. Now, 3 more facts that I'll leave with you. Orange County has the 2nd highest number of child trafficking cases in the state. Just, you know, depending on where you are in Seminole County, just, you know, a few feet to a few miles away from you. The average age of children that are lured into this lifestyle is 11 to 14. Now, we've been fighting since really as soon as they shut down the schools. We've been online doing Facebook Lives, creating toolkits specifically to educate parents and kids about this and knowing what to do and what to look for. So, you know, I want you to really wrap your mind around, just as there are criminals trying to take your data out of your business, there are predators trying to lure your children into a life that might look glamorous and it's not. So online, we've got about 3.2 million school children in the state of Florida. You know, take the pre-K and those kids out, you've got a bunch of kids online. You had millions of children online. We heard about the challenges of, you know, online, you know, actually getting access to being online, let alone trying to be educated online. And then you've got parents that were, you know, in essential jobs. And so you've got kids at home, maybe alone, maybe not alone. And sometimes even if they are with their parents might be trying to work, right? Everybody else have to be educating their kids at home while working. I'm looking at a couple. Yeah, it's not easy. And you can't always have eyes on what they're doing, right? And these predators know this. In fact, there's been several articles that we've posted and shared that human trafficking is actually spiked during this period of time. And you got to get over here, my thought process, and I'm like, hang on a second. We're supposed to be sheltering in place. Where are these kids going? How is this happening? You know, it's like, that's where parents go, well, they're here home safe. No, actually, they're not. Because just like we're having these conversations here, they're having their conversations right here on their phone or on their laptop, on their social media, on their games. 30% of kids that are trafficked are boys. Where do boys spend most of their time? On video games. There's an app called Discord. It's a chat app that you can have conversations with people after you're done playing video games. That's where the conversations start. Now, much like the stories that Abdul and Regine shared about somebody picked up the phone pretending to be, you know, the principal, or someone sent an email and somebody went, oh yeah, and said yes, and all of a sudden all this data is downloaded. Predators are very similar, except they're a little bit more manipulative because they actually show who they are. We all know who each other of us is, but if I do this, okay, because you've already seen my face, you know that's me. But if that's how I showed up and I was a 14-year-old girl or boy and I was doing Zoom, that's who your child would think they're talking to. They would think they're talking to a 13 or 14-year-old boy or girl. And it starts off very simple. You know, these are really challenging times. We're under stress. Our kids feel it. There's stress happening out in the world. Our kids know this. They feel it. And maybe we quip off and say something we wouldn't normally say, or maybe we, you know, give them an extra chore, whatever. You know, in a teenager's brain, anything can cause an upset because that's just part of what they're dealing with. And they get online and they complain. They get on Instagram, do a little video, get on Snapchat, get on, whatever app they're on, because there are hundreds of them, and they complain. My mom, fill in the blank. My dad, fill in the blank. My best friend, fill in the blank. And that's what predators are looking for. And they'll jump right in. My mom too. Because if you haven't noticed, social media has now become like the town crier. Everybody gets on and has an opinion about something, right? Well, kids are the same. They've got the same thoughts. They've got the same feelings, and they just share them. And predators swoop in and start to have conversations. I'm going to use Karen as an example. Maybe Karen's a 14-year-old girl, right? And I'm pretending to be a 14-year-old boy. I've got a cute little picture on, and I'm like, oh gosh, Karen, me too. My mom did the same thing. And all of a sudden I'm trauma bonding. And I'm bonding over time. And now this is sped up because I'm not in school 8 hours a day. I'm now sitting in front of this screen 8 hours a day. So I'm going to get bored, and I'm going to go out and see how Karen's doing, right? If I'm the predator, or I'm going to come back the other way. Karen's going to go, hi, I'm bored. Are you there? Sure enough. And they start to bond over time. And he tells her how beautiful she is and how smart she is and how lucky, her friends are, and starts to really build up her self-esteem. Meanwhile, starting to drive a wedge between her and her parents, because Karen will start to confide in him. She'll start to share all these things, all these thoughts, all these feelings. Plus, I have everything on social media to know about her. I can send her a little song because I know her favorite group is, whatever. I was thinking about you today, and send you a little song. And then pretty soon I'm going to get Karen's phone number. And once I have Karen's phone number, I can actually track to see where Karen lives. And now that we're kind of, no longer sheltering so much in place, hey, Karen, I'm just down the street. I'd love to see you. Now I've been bonding with this person for a long period of time. I've put a wedge between Karen and her family. I've told her she's beautiful. I've told her she's extraordinary. And maybe she's never ever felt that way before. Maybe no one has ever shared with her how extraordinary she is. Because see, these predators are trained. They know exactly what to say to our kids. Just like these people that steal our business's data, same thing. They know exactly what to say. And Karen will be like, I'd love to meet you. My mom just yelled at me. I'm going to come outside. I'm going to walk down the hall. Because I live in a complex, gated complex. I can get out the gate and I'm right on a major street. It's like, yeah, I'll meet you up at the Wawa. I've got the white Chevy. And the next thing you know, Karen's gone. Karen thought she was meeting a 14-year-old boy to go have a soda up at the Wawa. And it wasn't. It's a 45-year-old man. Because you got to get mentally, our children's brain is not cognitively completed yet. We're not fully cognitive till we're 25. And because our kids act so mature, don't they act like they have it all together? Don't these teens, like, they make you think they've got it? Well, they don't. They can't. This isn't fully done yet. It's not cooked. And so we give them a little extra room, and the next thing you know, they're gone. Now, as a parent, how do I find my kid? Do I have their social media information? No. Most parents do not have their children's social media passwords and login credentials. While we've been sheltered in place, I've had 6 missing person cases brought to me. We don't do this. We do prevention education, but because we're so vocal out on social media, and because in Central Florida, we're so blessed, we all work really closely together, I knew exactly who to send these people to. And my very first question for every parent was, do you have your child's social media passwords and login information? No one did. So much like Regime and Abdullah suggested what you need to do for your data for your business, I'm asking you to do the same thing for your children. Now, you're not going to go home and go, hey, we're going to, put bark on our phones now. And this is what, you actually want to have a conversation. And that's, quite frankly, the number one thing that will alter all of this. Because even if we're at home with our kids, we might not be at home with our kids. They might be in another room. We might be really busy. And it's really easy to have the day slip away before we even check in with our kids. We even check in to see how it's going for them, or what do they think about what's going on. And the most powerful thing you can give to your child along with your time is you listening. Listening without judgment, listening without trying to fix anything or solve anything. Just listening can alter their experience of life, can alter their opportunity to come share with you something they might be dealing with. We went in and we educated 350 kids at Rock Lake Middle School. And we coached them. I love middle schoolers. They're coachable. I love people that are coachable. And, we shared with them exactly what to do. We showed them our film, Trapped in the Trade. We should, so that showed the intentional recruitment of children by children. We talked about social media. We talk about laws that protect our children. Right? So they were very clear that they're not alone in this anymore. We gave them some very simple things to do. Said, look, you know those kids that eat lunch by themselves? Everybody raised their hand. I said, I invite you, just go sit with them. Just go be with them. You don't have to talk. Just sit down, take your lunch, and just go, hey, I'm going to sit with you today. 27% of the kids we went back and surveyed 5 months later did that. 27% of those kids went and sat and had lunch with someone who'd normally sat by themselves. That's remarkable. Like, we have no idea the kind of difference that made for that child. Now, translate that over to you being at home, right? You can actually set time to, hey, you know what? We're going to have the afternoon break. We're going to go outside and dance, or we're going to go play a board game for, 45 minutes. We're going to go spend that quality time, electronics down and out. And it's just going to be us. And doing that over time actually creates this bond such that whatever it is your kids want to talk to you about, they'll start talking to you about it. There's nothing that my daughter hasn't shared with me. And my daughter knows everything about me too. So the other piece of not only spending time and really listening to your kids is sharing a time that it didn't go so well for you. Sharing a failure, maybe in, high school or college. And more importantly, what you did about it. That failing in life is normal. That where we are right now, we're not going to stay right here forever. This moment in time. And to really encourage them to get that they've got that running through their veins too. They have that opportunity to fail and learn and grow again. And almost everybody here, I think I've met at least once. I think I saw you at the really fun bikers breakfast. That was so fun. Is you're all entrepreneurs. And I promise you, at one point in time, every single one of us has failed. And we've gotten back up and we've done something. Sharing those little things with your children has them really get that they can do that too. Because when we pretend that we're perfect, it gives no space and grace for them to have any flaws for themselves. But if they know, hey, wait, you know what? I remember my mom said that she failed at this. Or my dad said, you know what? This is his third business because the first two didn't go so well. Most importantly, my dad didn't give up. My mom didn't give up. They took actions and they tried again. And if we leave our kids with that, it's a gift. The other thing too is your kids want to know about this. 60% of the kids that we came back and surveyed said they shared what they learned with their parents or a friend. Now, to get a middle schooler to talk about anything, right, is pretty miraculous. But to have them have the conversation about something like human trafficking, that's, it doesn't get any better than that. And it stayed with them. We even had one of the kids talk at the film festival and awareness day. We had him on a panel, and a year later, he could tell me exactly what to look for. So educating our kids about this is important. And who they want to know all of this is you. Their parents, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, their neighbors, their teachers, the kids, the people they intern with. They want you to know about this too, because home life may not be great for them. They need a trusted adult. And if you're educated and you know this information, you've now become a trusted adult. You've now become someone that's in their corner. I have 4 interns, 3 of which have come from pretty challenging environments. And they call me a couple of times a week going, Jan, I just need an adult to talk to. I'm like, okay, bring it on. Because they don't have that relationship with their parents. And these are good kids going to school at UCF, right? You know, literally pulling up from their bootstraps and making it happen. You can be that person in a young person's life. You know, maybe it's a coworker's son or daughter. You having this kind of information makes a difference. So you can share a fact. Here's how we make the difference. First of all, you can share a fact. Say, hey, gosh, you know, I was on the Zoom call, and did you know that Florida has the 3rd highest number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline? Do you even know what trafficking is? Then yeah. And you listen. And they're going to say one of 2 things. Oh, yeah, I heard that on the news. Awesome, great. What do you think about that? You've now started a conversation. Or if they say, oh, hang on. What do you mean human trafficking? I've never heard of this before. What are you talking about? Well, hang on. Let's go look. And you can go look it up on your phone. And now, again, you've started the conversation. Either way, you've created information. You've started a dialogue that has them going down that path to be educated. And the last thing that I'm gonna, if I can have the screen, I'm gonna show you. Let's see if she's going to allow me to have the screen, Jessica. Here she is.
If you just hit the share screen at the bottom,
Yep.
you'll be good.
It says host disabled screen sharing. I know. There we go. So created this very snappy toolkit for you. You can download it off of our website, and it gives you everything you need to have a conversation. So the second page, the first page is just me like talking to you. I'm trying to put my live stuff in print so you can, you know, share it with people. So this is the facts for you to share and some tactics for you to look for. You know, so we talked about a couple of them: establishing trust and rapport, you know, telling them that they love each other, and things for you to look for, whether they become secretive or if they're starting to experiment with drugs and alcohol. Now, here's the page that I want you to really pay attention to. These are the apps that our children are using. In particular, Calculator and Calculator Plus. Those apps hide other apps. They hide pictures. And those are the kind of things you want to know about, right? And you can, again, to have that kind of conversation with your children, very, very important. And I promise you, if you go on your app store on your phone and you type any of these and you see all the other apps that are there with it, you're going to be a little freaked out. Take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. Work really hard not to judge, such that you can have a conversation. Now, I want to draw your attention to TikTok. You know, that TikTok, huge over this time of sheltering in place. And the DOD has requested every single military person take this off their phone. That tells me something. So if you or your kids use TikTok, you want to take that off your phone pretty quickly. And then on here's also some really great conversation starters. You know, this is a weird conversation to have. I get it. But we want you to be able to have the tools to do that. So again, whether you have kids or not, I promise you there are children in your life. There are teenagers in your life. There are friends that have kids. It's a conversation for you to start having with people. So there's some conversations to have. And lastly, that I'm going to leave you with is the National Trafficking Hotline. So I invite everybody to pull out their cell phone and to put the hotline in their phone. It's the number right here, 888-3737, 888. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are well-versed in 210 languages, and you just want to call and share what you're seeing. Every time any one of us has gone out and had this conversation, we have 40 mission ambassadors around the country. Within weeks, I get a phone call, I get a text saying, Jan, thank you for that number. I saw something and now I knew what to do. Because I want you to trust your gut. If you're at the gas station and you see something off, you make that phone call, because there's not one survivor that has ever said, oh gosh, it's unfortunate nobody called. No, that one phone call can actually save a life. So we're going to drop I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to drop the parenting link in the chat for you so you can have that. And then I'm going to close out with one thing I'm super excited about. We're going to drop that in the chat too, is we've been selected to participate in the Global Giving Accelerator for nonprofits. There's 600 nonprofit organizations around the globe from 96 countries participating in this, and we're the only Central Florida nonprofit selected and participating. So it's a really big deal. We have 3 weeks to raise $5,000, and it starts June 8th. So we're going to drop the link in the chat as well. So if you can wait until Monday, really any dollar amount can make a difference, because all of this goes towards funding, educating our kids in underserved markets. We've been to Edgewater, we've been to Rock Lake, we've been to Seminole High School. So all of this actually makes a difference, and it goes right back out to standing in front of kids and making a difference with them.
Thank you so much for all of that information. That was very, very informative, especially as some people who've never really, known anything about this, especially in Seminole County. So thank you so much. Please drop any questions that you have for Jan in the chat box. One that I did see was from Karen. It says that she met with somebody today who has an 8-year-old and was sharing about human trafficking, and he wondered when to start this conversation with her. She's only in 2nd grade.
Now, and you want to start really about body safety. It's because here's the other piece too. When they talked about inside threats, 60% of human trafficking happens by a family member. Okay. So that's considered an inside threat if you map it onto the other stuff that we're talking about. So, you want to talk about body safety. You want to create safe zones. You want to have a safe word. And, this is my body. And if something feels weird, and kids know what I'm talking about, that creepy feeling, kids know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can use an example with that child, and they go, yeah, it's like when you feel that feeling, you stop and take a different action, right? You just stop that moment, and then really have them have the conversations about, safety, because there are people in our families that do that. And so we want to make sure they know there's a safe adult. And in the same space, what a lot of children don't know is state of Florida has a law against sexting, sextortion. And most kids, when I ask them, talk about inappropriate pictures on their phones, thank you, Karen, for the prompt. Most kids don't know that the moment you take an inappropriate picture, if you're under the age of 18, the moment you take an inappropriate picture, it's the creation of child pornography. The moment you send it to someone, it's distribution. And the moment it lands on your phone, it's possession. Now, if you are caught and convicted, it's anywhere from a class 1 misdemeanor all the way up to a class 3 felony. So a 13, 14, or 15-year-old child could be labeled a sex offender for the rest of their life. And that affects their ability to get jobs and a whole slew of other things. So, having that conversation about apps, because you can't, the thing that I coach parents and I coach kids. I said to parents, I go, you can't come out them. You just can't. As much as you're angry, as much as you're upset, you've got to do the 3-second NBA referee basketball whistle pause. Just got to pause for a minute, because they just didn't know. They really didn't know. And if they share that with you, boy, they just gave you a big trust. And so you can start to have the conversation. And I coach the kids. I'm like, look, when you share this with your parents, they're going to have a reaction. They're human. They're normal. something's going to happen inside because it's our job to keep you safe. I said, so give them a minute. They're angry. They're not angry at you. They're angry that someone took advantage of their kid. Someone took advantage of their baby. I said, so you just got to, it's like I got to de-escalate the environment and have a conversation and let them know. And when we had this conversation at Rock Lake, there was a little girl within a week. Some stranger asked her for an inappropriate picture, and because she knew exactly what to do, she ran and told her parents. They called the police. They called Jordan Rodriguez, who was the principal at the time, and they caught the guy. And so we've got to create that space for our kids to have safety, to have this kind of conversation.
Wonderful, thank you. We got a question from Dave that's asking if you work with Operation Underground Railroad. And it says there's lots of resources and a great documentary on trafficking. Nick Nanton from Orlando produced it.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I don't. They rescue. I do prevention work. I know of them. I think super highly of them. We do two completely different things. And their documentary is really, really great and informative. Ours is more of a Trapped in the Trades, more of a docu-film. There's dialogue. It's literally like a short film that shows the intentional recruitment of children by children, and it doesn't have a happy ending, which really leaves us open to have the conversation. I love this organization. There's several rescue organizations that I really appreciate because we'll work with them. If we hear of kids missing, we'll reach out to our network of people that we know to help them go find them. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any other questions for Jan before we wrap this up at all? Feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat box. And then if for any reason you don't feel comfortable, feel free to email me. I can get you her contact information. I'm sure she'd be happy to reach out to you as well. If you want any resources, I did put those links in the chat box, and don't forget that you can save that chat box. Just hit those three little dots at the bottom of the chat box, and then you can save that. And then we're also going to upload this to our YouTube channel either this week or early next week, so that'll be available too. And I'll just remind you by posting it on social media, just so you have that. Does anybody else have anything else before we sign off here? And I just want to thank Jan and thank our speakers from RB Advisory for sharing with us tonight. It was a lot of great information, especially right now during all of this pandemic craziness and everything being virtual and summer and the kids being out. So it was very, very helpful. So with that, unless anybody has anything else, I want to let you know,
I put my email in the chat.
Perfect.
Thank you. So if anybody needs to reach out to me, they can, and you can always find me on social media too.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Just like Regime and Abdullah, we're 24/7, 7 days a week, making a difference so we can save kids.
Absolutely. Well, it's very important for us to know, and thank you so much for sharing with us. All of the links to the upcoming events are in the chat box as well, so you'll have those, and then you can always just take a look at our chamber calendar or reach out to me with any questions that you have.